Hello, friends, and welcome back to another episode of the Juicebox Podcast.
My name is Sarah. I am the mom of a type 1.
Please don't forget that nothing you hear on the Juicebox Podcast should be considered advice, medical or otherwise. Always consult a physician before making any changes to your healthcare plan or becoming bold with insulin. AG1 is offering my listeners a free $76 gift when you sign up. You'll get a welcome kit, a bottle of D3K2, and 5 free travel packs in your first box. So make sure you check out drinkag1.com/juicebox to get this offer. Don't forget to save 40% off of your entire order at CozyEarth.com. All you have to do is use the offer code JUICEBOX at checkout. That's JUICEBOX at checkout to save 40% at CozyEarth.com. My Diabetes Pro Tip series is about cutting through the clutter of diabetes management to give you the straightforward, practical insights that truly make a difference. This series is all about mastering the fundamentals, whether it's the basics of insulin, dosing adjustments, or everyday management strategies that will empower you to take control. I'm joined by Jenny Smith, who is a diabetes educator with over 35 years of personal experience, and we break down complex concepts into simple, actionable tips. The Diabetes Pro Tip series runs between episode 1000 and 1025 in your podcast player, or you can listen to it at juiceboxpodcast.com by going up into the menu. The episode you're about to listen to was sponsored by Touched by Type 1. Go check them out right now on Facebook, Instagram, and of course at touchedbytype1.org. Check out that programs tab when you get to the website to see all the great things that they're doing for people living with type 1 diabetes. Touchedbytype1.org. This episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by Medtronic Diabetes and their MiniMed 780G system, designed to help ease the burden of diabetes management. Imagine fewer worries about missed boluses or miscalculated carbs, thanks to meal detection technology and automatic correction doses. Learn more and get started today at medtronicdiabetes.com/juicebox. I'm having an on-body vibe alert. This episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by Eversense 365, the only one-year wear CGM. That's one insertion and one CGM a year. One CGM, 1 year. Not every 10 or 14 days. EversenseCGM.com/juicebox. You can talk to Jesus or breathe deep or do whatever you're going to do. And then you go ahead and introduce yourself. And then I will have a follow-up question, which this time I can't tell you what it is because I don't know yet.
Right.
And then we'll chat for like an hour.
Okay.
So you can go whenever you're ready.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
Don't be sorry. I was like, oh, this is so.
This is time for my deep breath.
I thought she was
to
breathing.
Jesus
I thought you were talking to Jesus. You're like, Jesus, I'm going to make a podcast now. Please don't let me say anything embarrassing. I thought you were praying, and then I realized no, she's just waiting for me to tell her to go again. So you go ahead and go.
Okay, perfect. My name is Sarah. I am the mom of a type 1. His name is Ian, and he is currently 16, diagnosed at 12 and a half.
Sarah, let me just say this to the editor. Please leave all that in. I think it's hilarious. So, and the long gap of silence. Rob, leave the whole thing in, okay? Okay,
Perfect
Sarah.
way to start. Yeah.
Maybe people will take that time to pray. You don't know.
I don't.
So tell me a little more. Your son, you said?
Yes. So he's our middle child. It's always the middle child, I think, that was diagnosed. So we have an older daughter who is currently 18, and then an accident 10 years later that's 6.
You're comfortable saying that publicly?
Yeah, he knows. Everyone knows.
Tell me the truth. After a wedding, how did it happen?
No, I had one temporary lapse in judgment, I guess. I have no idea.
You and your husband were feeling young. You had a good week. Nobody argued for 6 or 7 days.
Apparently.
Yeah. Went out for dinner Friday night, came home, and you're like, you know what? I'm going to throw this guy a bone now. Is that what happened?
Apparently. Yeah. Something like that.
Look at him. He's been good all week. It's present time. And then you got all into it. And you were like, I love you. We should and that whole thing happen or no? Not that thought out. Oh my God.
Probably not that thought out. The kids were like, "You're pranking us. You said no more kids." And I was like, kind of wish, but nope.
Yeah, sorry. Pick a lesser school.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's fine. Okay. So you've got those kids. How long ago was this one diagnosed?
So we're coming up on 4 years.
Oh, wow. It's a good stretch of time.
Yeah.
And he was diagnosed when he was 12?
Yes, on his 12 and a half birthday.
Oh, awesome. My dad left on my 13th birthday.
That's exciting.
Yeah. No, I think I'd rather him leave than get diabetes, if I'm being 100% sure. Yeah, I think so. Wow. How did you figure it all out?
Classic signs, up going to the bathroom all night, drinking tons of water. At that time, he was homeschooled, so spending day and night together, you just notice those changes. We had gone on a trip in April, on the flight, he's in the bathroom like 5 times. Didn't really think much of it. Thought maybe he was just nervous traveling or whatever. And then, symptoms progressed and the signs were there. He was melting away slowly in front of our eyes, losing about 10 pounds, I'd say.
Wow. Did you have to use the internet to help you, or did you know the signs?
I knew them, but I don't know why. I have a type 1 aunt, but I didn't grow up around her because she lives in Florida.
Oh, so your aunt has type 1?
Yes.
Oh, so you've probably heard enough over the years here and there that it clicked for you quickly?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay. And then you tell your husband, hey, I think the kid's got type 1. And then your husband goes, nah, because that's what the guys usually do. But what happened?
That's generally what they do. But with Ian, his appendix had ruptured the October before. And we kind of ignored it and let him lay on the bathroom floor and die for a few days before we took him in. So
you're fine. Suck it up, Buttercup. It's going to be okay.
That's right. We took him in. Well, we didn't even take him in. We had flown to Chicago for a conference, my husband and I, and my mom took him to urgent care. And we're sitting at the airport waiting to board. And she's like, well, they did an ultrasound and didn't see anything concerning. I think you're good to go ahead and fly. So we landed in Chicago and I get a phone call. He's having surgery in the morning if you want to come back. I was like, really?
Oh,
so
why do you guys fly around so much? You fly around like you're the Obamas. What's going on?
No, I don't know. Traveling's fun.
It's awesome. I keep thinking I should go somewhere.
You should.
I'm going to is what I'm like. Listen, I'm promising myself right now. I am going to I'm going to go somewhere. Even if it's just like a 3-day. I used to do these things when I was younger. Like, I don't know why I stopped. So, okay. So all right, let's go back to the appendix for a second. Did you fly home?
I didn't. I said, I'm not going to make it before the surgery, no matter what I do. Do I really need to come? Ian's like, no, I don't need you there. Well, my mom texts me all that night, like mom guilt, you should really be here for him. Meanwhile, I am not the doctor or hospital parent. That is my husband's job. I don't do appointments. So I was like, Anyway, I ended up renting a car that next morning and drove the 8 hours.
Oh, Sarah, you gave up on being Mother of the Year early. That's nice.
I did. So they just placed a drain that day, that hospital stay, because he was too full of infection because, like I said, we had let him lay there and die a few days. Yeah. So surgery was scheduled for 6 weeks after that. So went back in December for outpatient surgery, supposedly, but his appendix had ruptured and adhered all over. So they had to scrape different things to get it all out. So that ended up being another hospital stay and another drain. So
moral of the story is when you sniff out the type 1, nobody's waiting to go to the hospital. Everybody's like, no, we go right now.
Yes. Except for the doctor. I called Monday morning. They're like, well, we don't have anything until tomorrow. I was like, okay, great.
Listen, we've already tried to kill this kid once. We think we'll go to jail if it happens again. We'd like to. Yeah. No, seriously, you easily could have been one of those news stories where they're like, just months ago, Sarah and her husband didn't get him medical care when he needed it. Oh, okay. What's that whole thing like? The idea that he has type 1, that things are going to change. Like, where do both your minds go? This episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by the Eversense 365. Get 365 days of comfortable wear without having to change a sensor. When you think of a continuous glucose monitor, you think of a CGM that lasts 10 or 14 days. But the Eversense 365, it lives up to its name, lasting 365 days. That's 1 year without having to change your CGM. With the Eversense 365, you can count on comfort and consistency 365 days a year. Because the Eversense silicone-based adhesive is designed for your skin, to be gentle, and to allow you to take the transmitter on and off to enjoy your shower, a trip to the pool, or an activity where you don't want your CGM on your body. If you're looking for comfort, accuracy, and a 1-year wear, you are looking for Eversense 365. Go to eversensecgm.com/juicebox to learn more. Today's episode is sponsored by Medtronic Diabetes, who is making life with diabetes easier with the MiniMed 780G system. The MiniMed 780G automated insulin delivery system anticipates, adjusts, and corrects every 5 minutes. Real-world results show people achieving up to 80% time in range with recommended settings without increasing lows, but of course, individual results may vary. The 780G works around the clock so you can focus on what matters. Have you heard about Medtronic's extended infusion set? It's the first and only infusion set labeled for up to a 7-day wear. This feature is repeatedly asked for, and Medtronic has delivered. 97% of people using the 780G reported that they could manage their diabetes without major disruptions of sleep. They felt more free to eat what they wanted, and they felt less stress with fewer alarms and alerts. You can't beat that. Learn more about how you can spend less time and effort managing your diabetes by visiting medtronicdiabetes.com/juicebox.
You know, I have a type 1 aunt, but like I said, I didn't grow up around her. And so I really had no idea what we were stepping into. Again, this is during COVID. Normally one parent's only allowed, but they're like, you can both come. It's important for you to be here. Mm-hmm. You know, the whole ICU stay to level him out, and then education, and just jumped in from there.
Looking backwards, how would you describe what you went through? You didn't know what it was while it was happening, but in the rearview mirror, how would you describe it to someone else?
Overwhelming. Drinking from a fire hose, and then coming home and settling into that, like your new life. Well, we had a camping trip scheduled for the weekend after diagnosis. And he was like, I still want to go. We're going, right? Because we were going fishing, and we went. It was a little overwhelming, packing everything, because you don't know what you need in the beginning. So you're like, I guess I'm just taking everything. So move the whole house into the camper and off we go.
I don't think people talk enough about the hollow feeling your house has when you get home after the diagnosis. I mean, if you've ever gone through like a death, or a divorce or something like catastrophic, you get home and I know it's not really the house, it's you, but there's like a stillness and a quiet that makes it feel like the house is hollow. And yeah, you went through that.
Yeah, you're like mourning what used to be. You used to live this carefree, I can go anywhere, do anything, anytime. Like I said, Ian was homeschooled. And so we were constantly, going here, going there. And, and then in the beginning, you kind of feel like you need to hunker down and just figure it out and, change a lot of things. But in the end, I knew he was never going to eat a fruit or a vegetable, and we were just going to have to figure out carbs. So
that was your early on understanding of it? Like, well, we'll just avoid certain foods or...
Yeah, we I went to the store and did all the, you're like walking through, what is under 15 carbs that I can buy that this kid will eat? And the answer is nothing, So it's like you're standing there in the grocery store the first time, like feeling so defeated with your Gatorade Zero in the cart and your juice boxes for just in case. And how much meat and cheese can we possibly consume? I think a lot of people go through that.
I was going to say everyone listening is like, oh, I went on that grocery shop. I did that.
It's insanity. Yeah. Whenever you look back at it now, you're just like, what was I thinking? You buy the Quest chips that are never going to get eaten.
People are like, what are these? I'd rather die. Thank you.
He's like cardboard. I'm going to pass.
I just want to say, and no shade for people who like it, but that is how I feel about Magic Spoon cereal.
I never tried that because of all the, negative feedback.
We tried it one time and I was like, I'd rather just not. That's fine. We'll just never do this again. It's okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's overwhelming. It takes time to figure out. You have a certain expectation about what it is. How long does it take you to settle in? And when do you get the understanding of all of it that you possess currently? Like, how long does it take you to get to that point, I guess?
I would say pretty quickly. I dived in and was like, we got to figure this out, nail this down. A1C at diagnosis was 11.5. Our 3-month checkup, it was 6.6. And we haven't seen a number in the 6s since then. So I think it was pretty quickly that I was like, what it is best case scenario for him moving forward. Fought insurance for a pump starting, pretty close to day one. Ended up getting that at 3 months instead of the 6-month wait they told me it would be. And, just kind of all the things. Started listening to the podcast pretty quickly. I'm not sure how I found it, but once I did, I started with the pro tips and the bold beginnings and just went through like devouring everything and trying to get him that good foundation to start out.
Okay. Did you insinuate that you have an A1C? He has an A1C in the 5s now?
Yes, it's been in the 5 since January after diagnosis, I think.
Wow.
So,
and he doesn't have a specific eating style.
All the carbs, and that's it.
It's whatever you think he shouldn't have. That's the stuff.
Yeah. The doctor was like, what's 104 carbs that you have every day at like 3:30? And I was like, oh, that's an entire pizza. And she's like, all right, you're very consistent. I'm like, yes, he is. So.
You remember being young like that? It's awesome.
I know. Bag of pizza rolls, just living the dream.
Oh my gosh. So he comes home from school ravenous, or ends his school day ravenous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say.
Just that kind of time of day. Well, this is nice. Like, I just feel like this is a story about how the podcast helped you take care of your kid. Is that what this is?
It did. It was amazing, which I think was like vitally important because, let's see, it was probably December after his diagnosis. I had surgery to remove thyroid cancer. So
you did.
That was kind of another bombshell. Yeah.
Is there other autoimmune in the house?
No. Nope.
Just lucky you got thyroid cancer?
Yeah. Let's call it that.
Okay. Well, tell me, let's go down that road for a second. So how does that rear its head? How do you become aware that that's what's going on, and what's the treatment like?
After I had our surprise, I was at my 6-week post baby checkup, and the nurse, as I'm walking out, was like, have you ever had your thyroid checked? Because your neck looks large. And I was like, no.
Just say, your neck looks large, lady. Leave me alone.
Like, what are you talking about? You're insane. So anyway, I thought it was time to see a primary care physician and have that checked out. So they were following that with ultrasound for the last, I guess it was 4 years before it became an issue. I had nodules in both sides that hadn't shown any growth. And then in 2021, one side decided to double in size, went down that road.
Is the removal the end of it, or is there chemo or anything like that goes with it?
So I have nodules in both sides. I opted to only remove the side that had grown because the surgeon said, why would you take out both if only one is an issue? And I was like, because I don't want to pay someone to slit my throat for a second time. And he didn't quite comprehend that. But between him and my husband was like, well, if you broke your right arm, why would you cut your left one off?
You can't ask boys about stuff like this. That's probably your biggest problem.
Yeah. So anyway, I opted for one side. If I would have had both, they would have done the radiation. But since I left half in, we decided not to kill it off.
So how do you proceed then? Like, what do you do? Like, is it just constant checking?
Yes. So lab work in the beginning was every 3 months, then 6 months. Now we're at a year. I think I'm 3 years post-op now. So technically, I think I'm declared cancer-free at this point because my thyroid globulin levels have not increased. So that's something that we'll just continue to monitor. And if, that left side that remains decides to go haywire, it should show up in some labs.
Is it keeping up, or do you need Synthroid?
I'm actually on Levo because optimal TSH for someone post-cancer is between 0.4 and 1. And my TSH was up to 2. So they're trying to, lower that number to keep the remaining a little bit suppressed.
Okay. That all makes sense. Gosh. Okay. I was going to tell you a little story. Do you mind?
No, go ahead.
Yesterday, every one of my stories begins with yesterday because I think I'm just so steeped in this that something's always happening. But yesterday, I had a person online tell me that they did not appreciate the way in which I delivered my message, I guess. So to be specific, and this is not, if this person is listening, you're not the only one that said this, but there's a handful of people very excitable that don't like using AI to make artwork for the website. Now, I have tried for years to hire somebody to draw things or create things in Illustrator or something like that. Their pricing was always prohibitive. I could never keep up with it. I couldn't do it. You know what I mean? And so I went to this model because it works. I put up a lot of content. My website requires artwork to go with the content. And I can say to AI, here's a transcript from today's episode, make an image that supports it. And it does that. And in the end, it's great. Well, this person doesn't like that I do that. And then this person doesn't like the way I moderate the Facebook group, and they don't like this and they don't like that. And I said, listen, this is all very fixable. I need to hire staff to moderate the group. I'll need to hire some, artists. And I went through the whole thing. Like I really went through the entire thing. And I was like, this is about what it would cost. I'd have to start a company to employ these people. They're going to need healthcare. This. And I said, so I'm just going to need about $1.1 million a year to handle the staff and the costs and the healthcare and everything that will require to hire this group of people that you think I should hire. So if you want to just send that money over, I can get the whole thing up on its feet in a couple of weeks. And then the answer back is I still disagree with you. I'm like, oh, okay. So no real world conversation whatsoever. And in the middle of that response, I know that this is not a positive apples to apples, but I kept thinking of Jack Nicholson, the end of that courtroom drama in the military, where he said something like, if you don't like in the manner I provide your protection, I wish you'd just say thank you and go on your way or something. I found myself defending to the person and going look, I've helped tens of thousands of people. If you don't like the way I'm doing it, that's fine. But why you got to come here and shit on my doorstep? Just don't like it. That's fine. But if you think you can do it better, go do it better yourself. But this is how I'm able to accomplish it, And then I get on with you today and I'm hearing your kid's diagnosed. You're very carefree about it. His A1C's in the 5s, even though for God knows why he's eating a bag of Gino's pizza rolls every day. And I think to myself, yeah, I don't need to adjust what I'm doing. But,
right.
You know what I mean? But it's a weird position to be in. And anyway, I'm glad you're here today because it made me feel better. Because I there was part of me that thought oh, maybe I was too harsh when I responded, but I was really insulted and pissed, I guess, to be perfectly honest.
Yes, I'm very aware of this post. And the whole time you were talking, I could think the only thing I should say right now is, oh, brother. But
seriously, do you know what's the movie? It's a good movie. It's a courtroom drama about Guantanamo and there's nobody, by nobody, I mean you and I, Sarah, are we not coming up with this?
Nope, we're not. I am not that person for you.
All right, hold on a second. Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson. This should get us there. I got it. A Few Good Men. You've never seen A Few Good Men? I have, yeah. All right. Well, all right, Sarah. And so at the end of it, I don't know, he's obviously the bad guy, which is why this is a bad comparison. But when he's making his argument, he's if you don't like the way I do the thing I do for you, f*** off. I had a part of that feeling I am not willfully doing something bad. I'm not you think I want to use AI art? I don't want to, but it's my only option. I'm churning out 240 episodes a year. You want me to get somebody to illustrate those? Seriously, I've talked to those people. They want to be on retainer. They want to make $50,000, $60,000 a year. I can't pay for that. And so instead of stepping back and seeing the big picture, and to me, the big picture is your son.
Right.
That to me is the big picture, is helping people. So I'd like to ask you, how was it helpful? You said you used the episodes and the series and everything, but do you know how it helped you along, or is it almost not quantifiable? It just works and you knew it worked.
I think once you listen and start implementing, it just works and you see it works. So you keep, doing the small things and, stalking the reports, whenever you dig in, because he is on Control IQ, Tandem. Mm-hmm. And so it's manipulating those things, figuring out the technology that works, leaning on other people's experience. It's just such a huge conglomeration that you can't really pinpoint one thing or another, that you're doing. I don't know.
See, I think, no, I appreciate that because I genuinely think that that's correct. And I'll see people online sometimes, they'll say well, I don't learn like that. You give me something to listen to, but I can't learn that way. And I think, what do they expect to happen? Do they think that people just turn the recording on and an hour later they go, oh, I understand all the things in the recording now? I'm that's not how it happens. These ideas kind of melt into your mind. And then one day you find yourself in a situation and you just sort of know what to do. I learned how to take care of a pet that way. I listened to a video of a guy describe how to take care of it. And when it was over, I wasn't an expert at it. So I listened to the video again and I listened to it 2 or 3 times. And if you would have given me a quiz after I listened to the video, I don't think I would have been like, got 100% on it. But, a couple of weeks or months later, and I was like, oh, I know how to do all this. And,
right.
I just think it's how you learn through storytelling. But I think some people's expectation of learning is we sit down, I tell you 2 + 2 is 4, I tell you why. And at the end, you can describe back to me why 2 + 2 is 4. And you know it forever now. And I just don't think this works that way.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a family that, newly diagnosed, and someone referred that they talked to me, and their response was, well, what's she going to do? The doctor already told me how to count carbs. That's all you have to do. And I was like, oh, there is so much more than counting carbs, and it's like, that was all that they wanted it to be. I think it's kind of overwhelming to think that there may be more than this one thing, but people have to, see the bigger picture. And I was like, oh, there are so many variables and so many things. Like, I promise if you will just listen to this, your eyes will be opened and you will expound on that do not die advice, and your child can thrive. Mm-hmm. And it took a long time for them to, even be willing to accept that this was bigger than that.
Yeah.
And it's hard to watch people go through that and struggle for such a long period of time when you think it's so simple.
When someone says, I don't like listening to podcasts, I think to myself, like, okay, they never say I don't like listening to podcasts, so it doesn't matter. I found a better way and everything's fine now. They say I'm in significant trouble. A1C, variability, etc. is a mess. I don't know what to do. And now you're offering me a podcast, but I'm not a listener of podcasts. I'm like, oh, and then I swear to you, again, I know this sounds badly, but I've now found the quote, okay? I have neither the time nor the inclination to explain myself to a man who rises and sleeps under the blanket of the very freedom that I provide and then questions the manner in which I provide it. I know that that's ridiculous because it's not apples to apples, but some version of that sentiment.
Yes.
It's hard not to have it. For me personally, listen, if you follow me online, I don't talk that way to people. I don't come back and go like, if you don't like what I'm doing, go to hell. Like, I don't, because I genuinely, within the conversation, I don't know if this is confusing, I don't feel that way.
Right.
I know some people don't like listening to things. I know some people are more visual learners, or they need to read to learn or something like that. So I'm continually coming up with ways to help you with that. But that little tiny, like the ego part of you, the little guy in the middle, like in your chest, is like, off. I found a way to do this. Like, it's not okay. It just do it differently for me. And I'm like, I'm trying. Anyway.
Yeah.
So here's one of the things I'm doing behind the scenes that I'll tell you about, and you'll be the only one who knows about it for very many months. I have a type 1 sign language translator translating all of the bowl beginnings while she stands on screen and signs it.
That's amazing.
Now, yeah, it's going to be very cool for 2 reasons. First, it'll reach people who are, hard of hearing or deaf, which will be awesome. But I don't imagine that's going to be a lot of people. What I think is, for the people who need a picture to be moving in front of them while they're listening, which is a lot of people, I think is why YouTube is so popular. Because otherwise, I don't really need to see 2 guys sitting down talking about something. What would be the point of people watching us talk into a microphone right now? To me, that's ridiculous. It's completely unnecessary. But for some people, they need it. So I thought maybe it will be visually interesting for those people to watch her sign while they're also getting the information. That's not a bad idea, right?
No, not a bad idea at all.
Yeah. You want to know what? It's expensive too, but it doesn't matter. I'm doing it because those people yelled at me and told me that they don't listen and learn. And so I'm trying something else.
Now they can watch and learn.
They can watch and learn. And if that actually works, if I actually see an uptick for that, or people report back, hey, that really helped me, then I will try to raise money to do other things. I'm in contact with a company right now who might be able to animate the episodes. Because I'm not going to, if you want me to sit in front of a camera and do this, I ain't doing it. I'm just not doing it. I don't want to. I don't have the time to present myself that way. I record every day. These people who make one video a month, that's not hard. You know what I mean? That I could do, but I can't do every episode that way. I don't have the infrastructure for it. I don't have the money to pay for the editing. I'm not in a room that is visually pleasing. This room set up for me to talk into a microphone and you not see me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you see my chameleon behind me, you're going to think I'm insane. I mean, you really will. You'll be like, oh, I'm listening to an insane person tell me about pre-bolusing.
It has been confirmed now. He is insane.
There's a fucking dinosaur behind him, and he's trying to tell us about it. He's looking at me right now, by the way. I will feed you. Don't worry, buddy. Hey, there you go. He's literally, he doesn't like the color of my sweatshirt.
Aren't you surrounded by them now? How many do you have?
I don't like to talk like that because I think it's insulting to me and the people around me. But there are 3 chameleons in this room.
Okay.
Yeah. And they're all different kinds. And that's it. I won't be a person with 10 chameleons one day or something like that. I have one that is incredibly active and colorful. And I have one that is incredibly sedentary and huge and literally looks like somebody just put a dinosaur in here. And I have one that's just crazy and like a voracious eater. Like if anything I threw in there right now, this one would just go across the enclosure like a shark and just annihilate it in 2 seconds. The truth is that last one I described to you is the first one I got. And if I'm being honest, is not the one I wanted.
Way to go, kids.
Yeah, but my family got me. And I think she's awesome. Like I love taking care of her. I take really great care of her and everything. But like it wasn't the one I wanted. So I have the one they gave me, the one I wanted, and then a third one just because honestly, I had the space and the space was being used already. And so I just thought like, well, the space is sitting here empty. I should just do something with it. And then I just picked one that's just like, he's really bizarre. He never stops moving. He's just constantly moving around and he's really awesome. Anyway, they relax me. I turn around, I look at them, they relax me. They give me a good break, like in the middle of my workday and stuff like that. So a nice thing to step aside.
Distraction.
Yeah. But I can't leave this room because I'm busy making this podcast so people online can tell me I'm doing it wrong.
Way to go.
Have you ever heard somebody say you're doing it wrong and then, wait, I'll do it myself? And like, no, they just wanted to let you know that this is not commiserate with how they would do it if they'd get off their ass and do something.
I mean, it sounds like every husband-wife relationship to me.
Really? About like the dishes or bigger things?
Yeah, the dishes,
You're
load
doing
the
it
dishwasher
wrong.
right. It's really not that hard.
Yeah. And then, but the dishes get done no matter what.
Yes, they do.
Oh, look at you. You're so upset to admit that it doesn't matter if you load the dishwasher incorrectly or not. So funny. All right. So your kid's using Tandem?
Yes.
Which one? Control IQ, Mobi, or
Control IQ. He's wanting to make the switch to Mobi in August when warranty is up. So we will most likely be doing that.
To get a less connected feeling?
No, just because it's smaller. I don't know.
Just in general, smaller.
Yeah, he doesn't seem bothered by it. We put like a clunky case on it and he still shoves the whole thing in his pocket with the clip. I'm like, why don't you take the clip off? And he's like, that's fine. Like he's not bothered by a whole lot. So
Arden got low last night at like 3:30 in the morning. She got low because at 8 o'clock at night, when I could tell that her pod site was failing, and I said, hey, I would change that now before you ate because it's failing. You can look back at the last 3 hours and see that the algorithm is having trouble keeping up with your blood sugar. This is the very end of the pump. I'm 100% sure that it's like occluding somehow. You should just change it now. She does not do it. A few hours later, I'm going to say 8 minutes after eating dinner, the pod just fails. And she looks at me because I think what she's thinking is, this guy was right about this. And like, but I don't say anything. She changes the pod. And I said, look, you just had a pretty big dinner. You're going to get a high blood sugar here now for sure. I'm almost thinking that the bolus you just made for the meal is not going to nearly be enough. Certainly that happened. Her blood sugar shot way up. It was hard to get down. It took a bunch of insulin to get it down. It made her low at 3 o'clock in the morning. And today, when we spoke about it, I said, listen, I'm not busting your balls, but if you would have just changed your pod before dinner, you wouldn't have been up at 3 o'clock with the low blood sugar. Like, and I didn't say it like that. I was very nice about it. Like, I was like, look, hey, I'm not giving you crap. I'm like, but this is a great opportunity to see that if the pod would have got changed before dinner, then it would have worked better on the meal. You wouldn't have got high. There wouldn't have been a big correction. You wouldn't have got low later. Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, that's, we had a new restaurant last night. We tried a new Chinese place and saw blood sugar in the 250s, which we haven't seen for, over a year and a half, and it's like, oh my goodness, what are you doing? So it's like rage bolus that thing and we'll catch the drop when it comes. If it comes, hopefully it comes.
Yeah.
So, we caught it with half a juice and half a granola bar and coasted in the 90s the rest of the night. But before he went to bed, he was like, see you in the middle of the night. And I was like, no, we got this. It's all right. But he's still counting on me to be the middle of the night person. And it's like, oh.
So how do you handle that idea of transition? Do you have plans, or are you just one day at a timing it, or what are you doing?
He does 99.9% of everything. I am not involved anymore. It kind of makes me a little sad. So he will let me do his cartridge change in his pump. He's like, do you really need to do this? You can do it. He's still letting me be a little involved. But most of the time he has taken that initiative. And then, like I said, this was like a one-off, hasn't done this in forever. And he's like, you got this, it's like, I'm not waking up for it, but I will gladly still be there. So
do you think he is willfully giving you tasks to do because he knows you want to be involved, or is he offloading the crap he doesn't want to do because he knows you'd be willing to do it? No, he's letting me be involved, because if he like changes it, I'm like, isn't it time to do it? He's like, I already did it. I'm sorry. And I'm like, really?
Oh, no kidding. I feel like I want to like take, I don't want him to experience burnout, but so far he's just been amazing about everything and like handling it all. And I'm like, I'll still redo his calendar, and we have little magnets for site days and a different color for, Dexcom and all that. And he's like, I forgot to change his calendar because his dad and I were on a cruise, and he's like, I did my calendar. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I feel like such a failure. Oh, you're trying to get the Mom of the Year trophy back now. I'm trying. You're like, I should have flown home for the appendix. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. No, we went to the Touch by Type 1 conference this last year, and we went to Erica's session, like the teenage session, and she recommended some diabetes etiquette resources. And he likes to point out Rule 7, Mom, Rule 7. So I kind of took a step back, because that is recognize that I'm never going to be perfect with my diabetes care, no matter how much you want this. So I used to, if he's going high, which high is set at 150, I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I've already corrected. What do you mean? What am I doing? So I've tried to like take a step back from that, and I'll talk to him if he's been in the 150s for like an hour. I'm like, what are we doing? Yeah. But I used to micromanage a lot harder than I do now. So I feel like we're slowly making that transition more on my part than his, because he's, like I said, got to go to handle. And you're getting there. Is your firstborn a girl or a boy? A girl. Oh, so this is your oldest boy. Yeah, he's my favorite. I was going to say, I don't want to like pull the curtain too far back on basic human psychology, but ladies seem to love their first son a lot. Yeah, He's been my favorite since birth. I'm not really sure why, but yeah, maybe it's the firstborn boy thing. That or raising my daughters like looking in a mirror. It's really hard to raise yourself. Oh, really? Mm-hmm. Oh, that's an interesting point of view. She and you are very similar? Yeah. Yeah. So what does that do? Help me for a second, Sarah. Does it make you have realizations about yourself that are upsetting? Not upsetting, maybe frustrating. Like, man, you are just like me. How can I like criticize what you're doing right now? Because I am the same person. Oh, it's that you want better for them than you had. But when they're you, I mean, they're going to turn out all right, because I'm pretty amazing. It's going to be fine. Look at this package. Everything's going my way. Oh, and so the boy he's nothing like you. No. But he's like the boy that you married, who you're irritated by constantly. No. I don't know. Half the time you were irritated by him? No, I've got a really good setup. I've been a stay-at-home mom, and oh, okay. I'm living the dream. I always watch it happen. Like when the kids do something that's more my personality and Kelly's like okay with it, I'm like, how come I don't get this pass? I don't understand. Yeah, well, my husband and my son are both so easygoing. Yeah. It's like Arden said something like funny but shitty to Kelly the other day, and it went right past her. And I looked her in the face and I was like, are you not going to say anything about that? I was like, because if I would have said that, my God, we would have never heard the end of it. That's really interesting. Okay. So you
using some of the stuff you heard from Erica in person. Now, she and I made a series on that presentation. How did the series compare to seeing her in person?
In person was just, there's no way to describe sitting in a room full of parents who are grieving the same thing you're grieving.
Is it
I don't know.
Valuable or too sad?
It's so valuable.
Valuable. Okay.
Yeah. Sad, but valuable, you know.
And then hearing her do it on the podcast, was it a good reminder? Did you think to yourself, this is everything that I heard and more live, or was it not as good? Like, I'm trying to figure out if the content was good for you.
The content was good. It was everything that we went over in person. It was just a different presentation. I don't know how to describe the difference, because you're sitting there in the room, like tears rolling down everyone in the room's faces, you know, like as we're all experiencing this together, reliving all of those things, like trying to figure out how we're going to put all of this into practice. And then you hear it on the podcast, and it's a good reminder to take those steps and do those things for yourself. And I would say it was more powerful being in person, but the podcast was still excellent. And, you know, like I said, all the same content that was.
Okay. She's really lovely. I'm very lucky to have met her. So
yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's good to know. So what were your big takeaways from her? Like, I mean, it sounds like rule 7 is like, leave me alone. This is never going to be perfect. What are some of the other ones?
Yeah, just opening that communication between my son and I, because we went to her teen session and then I went to her caregiver session as well. So realizing, you know, this handoff is happening, and he over communicates sometimes whenever he's like, don't pay attention to this. Don't worry about it. I've already done this, you know, and that was him foreshadowing me getting ready to harp on him for something that he's already done. You know, opening my eyes to those things that were happening was very helpful.
Yeah. Do you think it'll help in other parts of your relationship? Because like, I imagine when he does that, the foreshadowing thing, which is basically just him defending himself in the future against something he knows you're going to do. Does it give you pause? Do you think, oh, he did that because I'm about to do this and I probably shouldn't do that?
I didn't see that until, like I said, going to Erica's thing. I didn't realize, you know, how much I was doing that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think it's like completely changed, you know, our relationship in reference to diabetes, which it's not a huge part of our everyday lives just because it's kind of background noise at this point. But, you know, I could see where that was, you know, taking a major toll when he felt the need to defend himself.
I will give a free piece of advice out to the moms. Telling long, drawn out, detailed stories about your kid's private life to other people, they don't like that. You shouldn't do that. But you guys all do it. You all like get on a phone call and you're like, oh my God, did I tell you the thing that happened to Billy? And then like, you know, like 20 minutes later, I have like a compendium type understanding of what happened to Billy. Billy finds out and goes, I wish you wouldn't tell people that. And you go, I'm just telling people about my life. Like that, I see happen a lot. You're laughing, Sarah. This has happened.
I don't feel like it has, but I know the moms you're talking about.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Don't do that. That's not good.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a simple way to make your relationship better with your kids, literally don't do that. So it's tough because it's hard to see the difference between bragging and just being proud or just wanting to share and what another person sees as private.
Right.
You know, that's hard. So having kids is terrible. It sounds like you figured that out early.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How old are you?
41.
Oh, how old were you when you had your daughter?
She's 18. I don't know. 22.
Did you make any of these kids on purpose or no?
No. I don't understand people that do that. I can't wrap my head around that.
That's awesome. The third one, just on his own, feral, you don't really pay much attention?
Absolutely. He's insane. So he's the first one that ever broke a bone, you know, like climbing the walls, doing all the things. And Ian's middle name is actually Danger. And our family before his diagnosis was like, I think you named the wrong one Danger, because our youngest is just insane. But then he's kind of made up for that.
Your type 1's middle name is literally Danger?
Literally, because his dad thinks he's hilarious.
Oh, I was going to call this episode A Few Good Men, but now I'm going to call it middle name Danger. It's awesome.
Yeah, Danger is my middle name.
Danger is my middle name. Okay. All right. We'll do it like that. It's a little long that way. Danger is mime. You see, I don't like to get into the 5-word titles, but middle name. Yeah, I'll figure it out. Don't worry. Hey, your husband, like he wasn't using you're from the middle of the country. Like he wasn't on meth when he came up with that or anything like that, right?
No, but the hospital did call to verify that his birth certificate worksheet was correct.
Awesome.
Because they thought I might have been on drugs, but I had a natural birth. So I was like, yeah, that absolutely wasn't the case.
How absolutely fucking jazzed was your husband when the hospital called to double check the name. He must have been so proud of himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that the moment when you think like, I wish I was gay?
Might be up there.
Yeah, I'm stuck with this boy and what he thinks is funny.
Yeah.
That's it. We were watching the Super Bowl and Arden watched with us. She never watches football, like ever. She doesn't understand it. She doesn't know the first thing about it. But she sat with Cole and I for the Super Bowl. I don't know if people don't watch football, you don't know this, but if there's a fumble, you yell ball. So everyone on the field knows the ball's out and they'll catch it and pick it up. So we're like screaming during the game. There's a fumble, we're like, ball, get him, kill him, that kind of stuff. And she's like, Mom. She's like, they're really excited. And then later we had this very real conversation where she goes, I don't understand how excited you are about this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I know. She goes, is this like your Grammy Awards? And I'm like, what? She goes, when I watch, what's the gala at the Met Gala? Mm-hmm. Arden watches that. She finds a way to watch the red carpet and the whole, she watches the red carpet for the Met Gala. And she goes, this is like that for you, isn't it? I was like, I am not even comfortable with you making that comparison, to be perfectly honest. I was like, but I guess so. She goes, you guys are so excited. And I was like, she goes, I don't know why. Anyway, boys are hard to figure out sometimes. So are girls.
Yeah, Ian's not a big football fan, but he was invited by Noah Gray to go to preseason practice or something. They had a VIP event for type 1s.
Oh,
and
last
he's
year?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
so
awesome.
He went just out of, wanting to see a girl that he had met at diabetes camp, unbeknownst to me.
Oh.
But so he was like, hey, they're having this thing at the Chiefs practice. Do you think I can go? And I was like, this is bizarre.
And you're sure. And then he's just going to see a girl?
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah.
They're definitely going to make a baby with diabetes if
yeah, no, that's ended. We're done with that.
Oh.
So
listen, I didn't realize I didn't do the math actually when you said you were from Missouri, and it doesn't sound like you're a big football fan, so this probably won't mean anything to you, but I just want to let you know how absolutely elated I was to annihilate the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
It was very painful to watch.
Yeah, no, good. I'm glad.
Yeah. Ian was trying to sell his signed hat before the end of the game. He's like, before this goes really terribly, anyone want to buy my autographed Noah Gray hat?
Poor Noah Gray. Noah has type 1 diabetes for people who don't know. He's I guess he's the number 2 tight end on the Chiefs, but after what I saw this past weekend, he'll probably be the number 1 tight end on the Chiefs next year.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, also, you know what's funny? Joking aside, I spent 15 minutes last night watching Travis and Jason Kelce talk to each other after the Super Bowl ended and taking away all of the ridiculousness and the of football and the competition and the violence and just watching two people who just, this is what they do for a living and they've been working at it since they were kids. And to see them talking about it, it humanized it to the point where I was like, I can't watch this. It's going to ruin football for me. I want to see them as characters in a play. I don't want to see them as people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm guessing now as I'm saying that, that's probably how the person's able to come online and tell me that I'm doing it wrong. Because I don't think they see me as a person who feels the way I feel. And they see me as a character in a play. And God damn it.
You're just the voice in the machine. You're not.
I can't believe the conversation went this way because now I have to apologize to that person. She doesn't think of me as a person. She thinks of me as the voice that makes the thing. Yeah. Because Travis Kelce's not a person who's upset that he's old and didn't play well in the Super Bowl. Because he
so old.
Oh my God, he could not move in a couple. I felt bad for him. There was a goal line play where he was supposed to pop off and get open. I was like, he's not even moving. I'm like he's slow. And to think about the drop off that must have from where he was, because I mean he's obviously one of the best people that's ever done it performance wise, and to see it fall apart so quickly, and then people start joking like it's Taylor Swift's fault, you know what I mean? That stuff's not cool. It's not Taylor Swift's fault that he's older. Oh, God. All right. Well, I'm sorry to the person who said that to me. I know if we were in person and you were talking to me, you wouldn't say that stuff. And sorry. Because I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that to Travis Kelce. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I felt bad for him. He sucked. He was terrible. There was one play where Kermit the Frog got away going to the right. And so, like, and he's moving right. And Kelsey's supposed to come up and chip somebody and then be open and kind of drift across the middle. And he just gives up on it. Like, you're watching the wide play. Like, Kelsey, I know there was a flag, and he probably thought, like, this is coming back one way or the other. But, like, his amount of effort was nothing. And the play is just going on and on and on. And he could have rolled towards the play and tried to help him, and he just didn't. And I thought, wow, it made me talk with my son about the game. And I said, you know, like, you don't realize, like, how demoralizing it must be. Like, they showed up there and they were like, we're going to win. Like, this is going to happen. And then before you know it, it's later in the first quarter and they're down by a lot.
Nothing is happening.
Yeah. And they can't complete a pass. They can't move the ball. They can't do anything. And the flags aren't helping them, which, you know, we can argue one way or the other about, but they've clearly been helped along the way in these last couple of years here and there. And like, so none of that stuff is happening. And then it's going bad again. And you're still human. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like in his mind, he must have been like, this just nothing's working. You know, and then that's what Cole and I ended up talking about. Like, because I related it back to other parts in life. Like, if you get up every day and do a thing and it just doesn't come together for you and you're doing the right thing, I get how people quit or get burned out, you know? And so, and it made me think about diabetes then, like, and all of you, like, you get up, like, as I saw somebody say the other day, I've listened to the pro tips. I understand what you're saying. It just doesn't work out for me. And I know that if I was there, I could probably see the bit that, like, they're missing. I can't do that. I can't go live with the person for 3 days and figure it out. And they're not getting to it. And to me, like, that message I got online is how, when I saw that message, I felt the same way I saw when I saw Kelsey throw his hands up in the air. Like this isn't going to work.
Yeah.
It's terrible. Like, you know, that feeling is terrible in general. Anyway, I didn't mean to be thoughtful about football. I just want to watch them knock each other's heads off and run around and score. But it seems like they might be real people. So I guess we can't do that.
Yeah.
Anyway, tell me a little bit about what it was like to sit through that Super. No, I'm just kidding. Could you just live through the pain of it for me? Of watching nothing? No, I'm joking. What do you want people to know about diabetes?
It doesn't have to be hard.
It really feels that way to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And maybe that's because I'm not the one living with it. I don't know.
Do you think your son thinks it's hard?
No, he actually has aspirations to go into healthcare and do something with diabetes. So.
Oh, good. That's nice. But you don't think he doesn't struggle?
No.
And he has never?
No. And that's what I think part of me is just kind of waiting for that to come.
Mm-hmm.
I hope it doesn't ever come, but you know, the reality is that it's highly likely that he will experience burnout at some point, but
I think so.
I don't know. In the age of automation, maybe not.
I don't know. Like, Arden's pretty automated. And I still think there are times where she's just like, like, there's only so much I'm willing to put into this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that, not willing's might even the wrong word. Like, just able, I think maybe is a better word. Like, from my perspective, I just, like, forget diabetes. I think anything you have to do every day would get to you.
Right.
You joked about marriage like 3 different times. I have too. Like, it's hard. Like, and it's not hard because it's bad or you don't love the person or you're not motivated. It's hard because it's every day.
Yeah.
You know, like, my wife's going away for business and my son's going away the same weekend with his girlfriend and Arden's going away somewhere like for the night. And I was like, so you're telling me that Friday into Saturday, I'm by myself? And they were like, yeah. And I thought, oh, it's going to be awesome. And I'm not that person. Like, I love being around these people. Like, and still, like, they were all just going to be gone for a day. I was like, and I'm sure they're thinking the same thing about me. They're probably like, oh, this guy just talks so much about everything. I can't wait to not talk about things. Like, cause I mean, look at me. My son's 24. 4 days after the Super Bowl, I'm talking about humanizing Travis and Jason Kelsey with him at 11:30 at night last night. He's probably like, dude, can we just laugh at this meme? Some guy sent a picture to Travis Kelsey that said, you should have stuck with the thick girls. and my son found that very funny. And like, but it's not like, not on a personal level, like on a personal level, like you're saying, like, hey, the person you're with right now and dating and probably love, like, That's a mistake. It made you bad at football, which none of that's true. But like,
right.
You remove yourself from all the personal stuff. Anyway, I'm in there like trying to like talk about people's feelings and giving up and stuff like that. And he's probably just like, man, like, let's just enjoy this.
Yeah.
So they're probably thrilled that they're leaving here. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And how great would it be if you could just like, because you hear people say it all the time, like, if you could just take this from me for a couple of days, like just the management of it and the thinking about it. Like that's a message I get from adults a lot. Like, it would be so cool if you could just come here for a couple of days and just push the buttons.
Yeah.
Don't let me have to think about it. So you're already thoughtful enough to know that as well as he's doing right now, your expectation is that he very well could trip and fall at some point.
Right. Yeah.
Do you have an idea of when you think it might happen?
I don't know. He got accepted into a CNA program for his last 2 years of high school. So I'm wondering if like the mental load of the extra, college level courses while he's in high school and maintaining all of that is going to be, where it's a little bit more than life right now has been pretty easy scholastically. So I'm wondering if when he gets into more mental load with school, if diabetes mental load will take a back seat or, what that's going to look like.
I have an expectation that I'm going to have a conversation with Arden about 2 or 3 years from now, where she's going to have some clarity about her stress level once she got to college. And I'm wondering what she's going to say about it too. So I think you're smart to think about it that way. Like, yeah, today it's not that big of a deal, but like the extent of his problems are, I might like this girl at the, and I
got to find a way to get to Kansas City.
Listen, I really have to get to Kansas City and I need pizza rolls. When that's your life, then the diabetes doesn't seem so bad. But right, if you're carrying a course load and there's expectations, and those expectations are both about your future and they're financial and they're everything else. And like, at what point does your capacity bubble to the top and you have to let some steam out? How are you going to get the steam to be college or my dating life or the other things he's worrying about? It's going to be so much easier to let go of the diabetes stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Sarah's like, yes, it sucks. The whole thing sucks.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. I keep thinking about making a short series of like 5 or 10 minute conversations where just somebody comes on, introduces themselves, and then bitches about one topic about diabetes straight through, and then it stops.
Yeah.
There might be a never ending list of people who are interested in doing that. You know what I mean? Like just bitch, just a bitch session for 5 seconds to let it out. But I don't know. Is there anything we haven't talked about that we should have?
I don't think so.
That's it?
Yeah. I didn't send anything on my list. I just thought it'd be nice to chat. So we've covered everything I included.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Because your thing, you have maybe the least descriptive, like, it says, what are some of the themes you hope to cover in your episode? And you said, who knows?
Right?
Teen years and the balance of control and independence. That's what you said. So yeah. And it's tough because you talk about it. It makes you feel like, oh, I need to give somebody an answer. And even the people listening might be like, oh, Sarah's going to have the answer to this. But I think the answer to it is to just be ready for it.
Right.
And then try to be mindful of who you are in the scenario, who they are, what the implications are, and how you can release pressure from people in certain ways. Like, like your son's already showing you, like, here's some things, Mom, you do that I don't like.
Right.
Like, don't do them. And then you realized it. And did you have any success stopping?
Yeah, I feel like now I'll be quiet until we hit the 2-hour mark of staring at a 150. And then you're going to get up and you're going to drink some water and you're going to do some things, but I'll leave you alone until then. So
I think that's reasonable. Did you see a person in the group recently say, hey, my kid's just like ignoring all my texts and like, they don't know what to do. It's funny because my initial thought was kind of what you thought and what we've been talking about here is like, you can't be too overbearing. That's not going to be okay
my thought
either.
Is quit texting them.
Yeah, right. But if it's really an emergency situation, you absolutely have to hear from them. Like I said, like I'd send to Find My iPhone. They're very hard to ignore.
Right. Yeah.
But at the same time, like that's not a thing you do every day. Like that's a thing, like if there's a real genuine emergency, not if the blood sugar is 160 for a couple of hours and they're not doing anything about it. You've got to balance management, long-term health against psychological impacts and your personal relationship. You know, like there's a lot here to balance, really. My God.
Yeah, there is.
I want to finish with, I just want you to go back over something with me. You said sitting in the room talking to Erica was emotional. And I'm wondering if you can put words to the why.
It's hard to describe to anyone who hasn't experienced diabetes how life-changing it truly is. And all those people understood that in that moment, I guess. Feeling understood and related to.
Yeah. Yeah. Just that idea that I don't have to explain this to anybody in this room.
Right.
They know how I feel.
Yeah.
And then that kind of feeling of, what does it feel? Supported?
Supported, yes, I would say. Yeah. Understood is a big one.
Have you ever seen the movie Rudy? I know you said you don't watch movies. You've seen Rudy. Okay, right. Awesome. At the end, when they let Rudy play, it makes me very happy. Like, right? Like, but I'm not happy for Rudy. There's something about the adulation of a group of people or the support of a group of people or what you're talking about, like the understanding of what this means to Rudy to go into the game. I can't believe there's so much football in this episode.
Yeah.
There's something about that makes that feeling very powerful.
Yeah.
I would take an entire college course to understand that feeling because it is so incredibly impactful when you have that around you. And the problem is if you've never been through something like this before, or you're maybe a bit of an isolationist to begin with, when someone tells you how important community is, you could be like, oh, that's stupid. It freed you up, I imagine, right? Like, I imagine being in that room for that hour changed you somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm super happy that you were there. And we met while you were there. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. It was awesome. I have such a good time at their thing. Yeah, they do a really great job. And you traveled to get there?
Yeah, we flew from Missouri.
I remember, I believe I remember you telling me that. And I want to
got to go to SeaWorld out of the deal. So
yeah. It's an overwhelming thing to have somebody tell you they flew somewhere to see you. Do you know what I mean? Like I once had somebody tell me they drove 15 hours to go to a thing I was speaking at. I was
I don't think I'd drive for you.
No, and I appreciate that because when they said it, I was like, why? Like, I was like, oh my God, so much effort.
They must have been scared of planes.
I would have called you on the phone, like if you needed to talk to me that badly.
That's funny.
All right. Well, I really appreciate you doing this. Can you hold on for a second?
Yeah.
Thanks. The conversation you just heard was sponsored by Touched by Type 1. Check them out, please, at touchedbytype1.org on Instagram and Facebook. You're going to love them. I love them. They're helping so many people at touchedbytype1.org. Thanks for tuning in today, and thanks to Medtronic Diabetes for sponsoring this episode. We've been talking about Medtronic's MiniMed 780G system today, an automated insulin delivery system that helps make diabetes management easier day and night. Whether it's their meal detection technology or the Medtronic extended infusion set, it all comes together to simplify life with diabetes. Go find out more at my link, medtronicdiabetes.com/juicebox. I'd like to thank the Eversense 365 for sponsoring this episode of the Juicebox Podcast and remind you that if you want the only sensor that gets inserted once a year and not every 14 days, you want the Eversense CGM. EversenseCGM.com/juicebox. 1 year, 1 CGM. Thank you so much for listening. I'll be back very soon with another episode of the Juicebox Podcast. If you're not already subscribed or following the podcast in your favorite audio app like Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please do that now. Seriously, just to hit follow or subscribe will really help the show. If you go a little further in Apple Podcasts and set it up so that it downloads all new episodes, I'll be your best friend. And if you leave a 5-star review, I'll probably send you a Christmas card. Would you like a Christmas card? If you or a loved one is newly diagnosed with type 1 diabetes and you're seeking a clear, practical perspective, check out the Bold Beginning series on the Juicebox Podcast. It's hosted by myself and Jenny Smith, an experienced diabetes educator with over 35 years of personal insight into type 1. Our series cuts through the medical jargon and delivers straightforward answers to your most pressing questions. You'll gain insight from real patients and caregivers and find practical advice to help you confidently navigate life with type 1. You can start your journey informed and empowered with the Juicebox Podcast. The Bold Beginnings series and all of the collections in the Juicebox podcast are available in your audio app and at juiceboxpodcast.com in the menu. The episode you just heard was professionally edited by Wrong Way Recording. wrongwayrecording.com.